참 이 시간이 있다는 게 결국 망대고 너무 귀하다.
By finding all that meaning, and eventually we're all together having this time to stand before God. So this time itself is already the partisan before God.
지금은 비록 모를 수도 있지만
So it's okay, though you may not fully realize what this blessing is all about right now.
저도 그랬기 때문에
Because I was just like you.
이 망대가 정말 예배의 망대가 다다라는 기도의 망대가 다라는 게 다시금 말씀이 또 확인됩니다.
So once again, I could confirm God's word that truly the partisan of the worship and partisan of the prayer are everything.
우리 렘넌트들 앞에 서니까 되게 두렵고 떨리는 마음으로 섰어요.
So to stand before you remnants, I'm actually in trembling. I'm actually in a heart
이미
that I have a bit of fear
수많은 전도자분들과 증인분들이 계신데
because there are so many witnesses and evangelists already.
근데 감사한 거는 제가 한 게 아무것도 없어요.
But very thankfully, there's nothing that I did.
그래서 증인인 거예요.
That's the reason why I'm a witness.
내가 한 게 뭐 있어요?
Is there anything I did?
그게 바로 교만이에요.
That's the arrogance.
내가 한 게 아무것도 없는데 하나님이 하신 거예요.
There's nothing that I ever did, but it's all
왜
that God did.
증인 포럼이라고 하잖아요. 우리 할 때 얘기할
So
때
usually we are saying it's the witness forum, right?
되게 부끄럽거든요.
But to to stand to share the witness forum, it always makes me so embarrassed.
와 대단하다 이렇게 말하시는 분도 있고
Some people are even telling me, "Oh, you're so great missionary."
혹은 어떤 분은 나랑 갭이 너무 많아요라고 하시는 분도
Or some people
있고
even tell me, "Oh, I have a huge gap from you, missionary."
근데 항상 부끄러운 건 진짜 한 게 아무것도 없어요.
But very embarrassingly, I'm always embarrassed because there's
그래서-
nothing that I did actually.
그래서 증인이란 그리스도가 하신 그 일의 증인이구나 다시금 묵상하면서도 의미를 찾아요.
That's the reason why I'm meditating once again that I'm truly the witness because I'm the witness that the Christ has done. So finding this meaning again, I'm standing again.
그래서 항상 저는 이렇게 앞에 서는 자리 기회가 생기면 항상 강단 말씀 확인해요.
That's the reason why whenever a chance is given to me to stand before some people, I'm always going back to confirmation of the pulpit message.
하나님 말씀이 성취된 증인이니까
Because I should be the
다시금
witness.
말씀의 흐름을 확인을 하는 거예요.
I should be the witness which that the pulpit message is fulfilled. So again, I'm checking the pulpit message.
그러면서 제가 선교지 이곳에 왔잖아요.
And I'm here in this mission field.
그 우리 김현수 선교사님과 정대은 선교사님의 이제 1, 2, 3부 강단 녹취록을 아까 다 봤어요.
So I just read the pulpit message given from
그러면서
Missionary Kim and Assistant
또
Pastor Paul
말씀을
from
또
1 to 30 message a while ago.
그걸 다 제가 외우겠습니까? 말씀 흐름을 다시금 확인하면서 응답을 또 확인하는 거예요.
Of course, I couldn't memorize all the messages. However, by checking the 3 messages, I'm checking the stream of the word once again, and so I could see the
그
answer from
안에서
there.
하나님이 저에게 주시는 감동과 은혜와 답들이 있잖아요.
Then there is God's grace, the moving, and the answer that God give once again within that.
같이 포럼 하는 자리가 되는 거죠.
So this place or time shall be the forum time eventually then.
그래서 이제 제목을 뭐 따로 대단한 건 아니지만 렘넌트의 망대라고 하나님이 붙잡게 하셨어요.
So since I had to just give one name for my forum, so I know it's not really that great, but I just named it Remnants Partisan. That's the title God gave me.
그러니까 렘넌트의 망대를 세우는 헤드쿼터 아닙니까?
Because right here is the headquarter that raises the Remnants Partisan, isn't it?
하나님이 그렇게 RUTC를 세웠었잖아요.
Because that is how God raised this RUTC.
네, 다음 슬라이드 보여주실까요? 그러면서 지금 선교대 이제 다음 주 선교대이고 또 우리가 기도수업 말씀으로 또 선교대 그 합숙 메시지가 나오고 있죠. 70 제지종나.
So we're going to be having the World Missions Convention for the next week. And from the prayer journal messages, we're checking the flow of the World Missions Convention that we had last year these days. And the title that we received from the last year was the 70 movement, the 70 disciples, regions, nations, and tribes.
근데 그 말씀이 따로 있는 게 아니라 연결이 되는 거죠.
However, these words is not staying somewhere else separately, but they are all together in.
가장 긴급한 소식.
So the most urgent news it is.
항상 우리가 갈등하고 낙심하고 힘 빠질 때 놓치지 말아야 될 거.
Especially at times when we are always discouraged, when we lose our strength, and this is the one thing that we should always never lose.
저 진짜 로마서 5장 8절.
Truly, Romans 5:8 it is.
나의 원래 과거.
Our original past it is.
어땠어요?
How are we like?
복음 없는 나 우리 가정.
You
가문.
and your family line, how were you all like without the gospel?
창세기 3장
Genesis
너무
3.
많이 들었죠.
You have heard of it so many times already.
벗어날 수 없는 그 영적 문제.
The spiritual problem that you can never get away from.
근데 그 우리가 아직 죄인 되었을 그때에 그리스도께서 모든 걸 다 십자가에서 다 완성하셨어요.
But at that time, while we were still sinners, Christ fulfilled everything by dying on the cross.
그 하나님의 사랑.
And that's the love of
근데 되게
God.
안 와닿잖아요.
But it doesn't really come and touch you,
렘넌트들은
does
그럴 수
it?
있어.
For remnants,
어른들도 그렇죠.
well, I understand you. And adults, yeah, I feel you.
그래서 하나님의 은혜가 정말 필요한 거예요.
That's the reason why we're so much in need of God's grace.
믿으면 된다.
Just believe in it. It works.
그게 제일 어려워요.
That is actually the most difficult thing.
안 믿어지는데 어떡하라고.
So people might say, "Oh, but how? I can't just believe. What can
안
I do?"
믿어지는데
I just can't.
솔직히
Truthfully speaking,
잘 모르겠고.
I just can't believe in it, and I don't even know what that is
그냥
about.
많이 그리스도를 들었으니 쭉쭉쭉쭉쭉쭉 이 복음의 이론은 나오지만 잘 안 믿어질 수 있어요.
So it's just that I have heard of the message of the Christ so many times, so the full fluency of the forum is coming out from me, but you might not really have that actual faith in it.
그런데 하나님이 이 자리에 이 도단성 운동하는 이곳에 부름받은 렘넌트들은 그렇게 기도해야 될 필요가 있어요. 하나님 나에게 은혜를 주세요.
However, you are the very remnants who have been called by God in this very place of Dothan's movement. Then there is a need for you to pray like this: God, give me your grace.
하나님의 은혜로 믿어지는 거예요.
Because it is
내가
by
열심히 믿으면 언젠가 무너져요.
Because it's by God's
나는 안
grace that you can believe as well. Because if
언젠가
you are
한계가
going to
안 나요.
believe by your power, one day it's going to
나
fall.
너무 힘들어.
It's not going to work. You will
못하겠어.
face limitation one day. You can't do it.
그거 내가 믿는 거예요.
Well, that's all because you believed it by yourself.
우리는 믿을 수 있는 존재 자체가 아니에요.
Because we are not even beings who can believe in God.
전적인 타락한 인간이라는
Because we are entirely corrupted, and that's the kind of being we became.
그래서 하나님이 우리를 은혜로 구원해 주시고 은혜로 그 복음의 소식이 믿어지도록 고백하도록 하나님이 이 자리에 앉게 하신 거예요.
That is the reason why it was even by God's grace that He made us to believe in Him, and then by His grace He saved us as well, and so by His grace He has put us in this place. So we're now sitting here.
그래서 그 은혜가 임하기를 기도합니다.
So I pray that that grace may come upon you.
그러면서 하나님이 그 복음 안에 우리를 불러주시고 이제는 후대를 세우는 렘넌트 운동 속으로 우리를 불러주셨어요.
And God has even called us within the gospel. Now He has raised us as the ones who are raising the next generation of next generation of next generation in this remnant movement.
한 사람의 영향력이 어마어마하죠.
So the influence of one person is actually tremendous.
진짜 감사한 건 뭔지 알아요?
Do you know what's really thankful now?
멀리 있지 않아.
This is not far away from
증인이
you.
멀리 있지 않아.
A witness is not far
성경
away
속의
from you.
증인 너무 많는데 내 눈앞에 있지 않아.
So many
많은
witnesses
사람들은.
in the Bible, yeah, there are, but they are not right in front of your eyes.
우리는 가까이 있어요.
But for you guys, there is
우리
a witness.
렘넌트들 옆에 쳐다봐요.
There is a sure witness right next to you. Just look around, guys.
하나님의 사랑으로 이 자리에 있는 우리 선생님들,
So all your teachers in this place together by God's
우리
love,
목사님,
and your
이게
pastor
괜히 띄우는 것
especially.
같지 끼우는 게 아니에요.
So this is not just gaslighting.
저분들이 여기 왜 있어요?
But why do you think these people are here?
그리스도의 은혜로 그리스도의 사랑받고 그리스도의 사랑에 감사하고 치유받으니까 증인으로 이 자리에서 우리 렘넌트들 키우는 거잖아요.
Because they received God's grace and the love first, and by that they were healed. And so with that thanksgiving, they are in this place raising you remnants with the love of the Christ.
근데 우리는 너무 연약해.
But we are so weak.
자꾸 육신으로 서로 판단해.
So we are always judging each other by our physical standard.
그 눈으로 서로 보면은 여기 살아남은 사람 아무도 없어.
If you were to look at each other having that standard on, then there's no one who could survive in this place.
일단
Not a single one.
하나님이 우리를 그 눈으로 보셨으면 여기 있을 사람 아무도
So
없어요.
first of all, if God was to take that kind of standard on us, there's not a single one who could survive in this place.
그리스도의 뭐 시스루라고 하지. 그리스도로 통해서 우리를 보시니까 우리가 의인이 된 거예요.
He is only God is seeing us through the Christ,
그만.
so we became righteous in His eyes.
그래서 하나님 자녀 됐잖아.
So we became His children.
근데 너는
But you, what about
그
you?
은혜
Then?
받은 너는
And you who received that grace
은혜
from
받은
God,
당신은
you guys,
서로 뭐 어떻게 봐요? 서로를
how are you looking at each other then?
그리스도 통해서 봐요?
Are you looking at each other by
그게
the
쉽지
eyes of the
않거든요.
Christ? It's
잘
not
안 돼.
easy. It's not taking
육을
place that
가졌기
well.
때문에.
Why? Because we
그리고
have this
자꾸 눈에
flesh.
보이는 거에 판단되잖아요.
And because
저도
we're
마찬가지.
prone to judge things based on what we see. Well, that's even for me too.
그때마다 서밋 타임 있잖아요. 우리
So every time like that, yes, we have this
우리
summit time.
그리스도 고백하죠. 삼중직.
Yes, we do confess the three confession
그거를
offices of the Christ.
주문처럼 외워도 괜찮지만 정말 그 고백을 하며 서로를 그리스도의 막을 지나서 봐보세요. 얼마나 소중한지.
It's okay to confess this confession to just in the level of casting a spell, but still, why don't you try to put your heart in this confession and to see through each other by the Christ?
그 그리스도의 사랑에 은혜 받은 그 선생님들이 그리스도의 사랑으로 치유받아서 여기에 있는 거예요.
Then you'll realize how precious each individuals here are, because even your teachers, they are the witnesses of Christ who received a healing through the love of the Christ, and so they are here.
일단 그분 증인이거든.
So first of all,
치유받았잖아.
they are
우리 선생님들이 먼저.
witnesses. They're witnesses because they received healing first, your teachers.
우리 여기 선대 목사님 김영아 배하나 선교사님의 기도 제목 뭐였어요?
And our late pastors, what do you think was the prayer topic of our late pastor Kim and Hannah?
100만 치유
The
전문대자잖아요.
1 million healing specialized evangelist
렘넌트
disciple
운동
it is.
멈추지 말아라.
Do not seize the remnant movement.
100만 치유 전도 제자 중에 한 분이신 거예요.
So you guys are actually one among the
우리
1 million
선생님들이.
healing specialized evangelist disciples, especially even our
우리
teachers.
RM들이
These RMs
그리고
are.
여러분이
And especially you guys are.
필리핀 분들도 당연히
So of course you Filipinos are one of
아니라고요.
them.
뭐가 어쩌고 그거는 내 눈이 치유받아야 되는
Are
여정인
you
거예요.
saying, oh, I'm not qualified to become one of that, and oh, that person's not well? If you are saying like that, you still have far journey to go for your eyes to be healed.
너무 보고 싶잖아요, 우리 선대 목사님들.
So don't you miss your late pastors so
가끔
much?
저도 육신의 눈물이 나올 때 있지만
Sometimes I'm shedding some tears because I miss them so much too.
메시지를 들으면서 사명을 진짜 다 하시고 가셨다.
So the more I receive the message, the more I come to the conclusion that truly our late pastors
그
have fulfilled their
목사님들의 영향력이
commission completely.
영혼까지 가는 거잖아요.
And then that influence our late
왜?
pastors gave is actually lasting up to the
더한
eternity. Why?
더한 제자가 일어나는 망대를 곳곳마다 전 세계에 세우셨죠.
Because they have established the partisan to raise the greater disciples all around the world every quarter.
뭐 하라고요? 무슨 망대예요?
To do what? What kind of partisan is it?
이 복음 전하는 망대.
The partisan that shares the gospel.
오직 그리스도는 끝났다. 그 증인.
Everything's finished by the only Christ. They were that witnesses.
그리고 나로 멈추는 게 아니라 더한 제자들을 세우는 그 후대 운동.
And they didn't finish just by their lives only, but they carried out the next generation movement to raise the greater disciples among the next generation.
감사하게 그 메이슨 전쟁에 승리하셨잖아요.
And very thankfully, our late pastors had the victory in that Mason warfare.
우린 봤잖아.
And we saw that.
그 실제로 못 봐도 우리는 그 역사를 계속 듣잖아.
And even if you were not able to see that necessarily, you are still hearing that history by the reinterpretation of your speakers.
앞으로 계속 말할 거예요, 역사를.
And this history will be repeated and will be told to you over and over.
왜 우리가 없으면 또 우리 여러분 렘넌트들이 또 전달해야 되니까.
If our generation disappears, then it's your job, you remnants, to pass this on.
그게 하나님의 말씀인 거예요.
Why? Because that is God's word.
그래서 다음 슬라이드 넘겨주세요. 여기는 어디예요?
Do you know where this is?
네, 사우디아라비아.
This is Saudi Arabia.
메카.
Mecca it is.
이게 메카예요.
This is so-called the Mecca.
난 이게 메카인지도 몰랐네.
I didn't even know it was Mecca.
뭐 무슨 학원 이름인 줄은 알았네.
So Mecca
무슨
usually,
메카 수학의 메카 몰랐어 진짜.
because in Korea we usually put a name Mecca after the tutorial center, like Mecca of mathematics, Mecca of English. So I only thought Mecca is just one of the names of the tutorial center.
전 세계 무슬림들이 인생에 단 한 번 꼭 가보고 싶은 저곳.
But truly, this Mecca is the world quality Mecca that all the Muslims in the world long to visit once in a lifetime.
저길 주위를 도는 거예요.
So people roam around this place.
지금 잘 안 보일 수도 있는데
Perhaps it's not really seen
아니야,
well.
그 전 슬라이드. 응. 전 슬라이드. 그 앞에 거를 넘겨봐 주세요. 우리 선생님. 아닌데 앞에.
전전.
그건 뒤고. 그렇지. 이게 뭐냐면 사람이야, 사람. 저 점이.
So all these things are actually people, man.
그러면서 이제 절기 때
It's their,
특히 뭐 라마단 이럴 때 와서 뭐 하는 거예요? 돌아 저기를.
it is their feast, especially during Ramadan. What do? They
왜
all
돌아요?
merge in here, and then they are
그리고
walking
저렇게
around this
한 방향으로
altar.
돌면은 분명히 밟혀 죽거든요.
So why do they do so? And also, if that much of people plow in and they are walking in one direction, there will be definitely someone who will be dead.
무엇이 각인했냐가 너무 중요해. 저기서 죽으면은 순교라고 생각해요.
So what is imprinted in
천국 간다.
them is so important because there are even people who die there by so much people and they think it's a martyrdom and then they go to heaven if they die there.
저희 모하마드가 승천한 곳이라고 믿어요.
Because they believe that that was the place where Muhammad
선지자.
ascended, their prophet.
저렇게 틀린 거에 오직하고 있는 현장에 살고 있어요.
So it is this feel that they are fully giving all their in only to the wrong things and the people are living like that.
그 이제 다음 슬라이드. 이렇게 메인스 전쟁을 하고 있는 거예요. Next.
That is how these Muslims are fighting their Mason warfare.
다음 하면 여기는 이제 제가 살고 있는 UAE, 아랍에미레이트,
So this is actually a UAE,
아부다비인데요.
Abu Dhabi, next to Dubai, where I'm living in.
너무 아름답게 지었어요.
So look at this beautiful shrine. They built
저걸
it in
보러
a
전 세계에서 또
so
보러 와요.
classy way. So many people are actually coming from all around the world just to see
그러면
this.
어떻게 생각해요? 와, 나도 가고 싶다?
What do you think about this? Oh, maybe I could visit there once. Do you think so?
저기 흑암 단체는 저 종교는 저렇게 메이슨 전략으로 전 세계 사람들을 끌어들이는 거예요.
Well, this darkness
봐라.
organization and this darkness that are doing this Mason warfare are actually drawing the people from all around the world. Just come and look at us.
이거 믿으면 우리처럼 돈 많아.
Look at this mosque. If you believe in what we believe in, you are gonna make a lot of money just like
얼마나
us.
열심히 진짜 일꾼들이 더 열심히 믿는 것 같아 내가 보기엔.
So
일하다가 진짜 양탄자 깔아놓고 모래에서 막 절해요. 근데 오히려 상류층 이런 부유한 사람들보다 더 열심히 일꾼들이 한 달에 진짜 정말 조금 벌거든요. 근데
So,
진짜 열심히 절해요. 하루
there are
5번.
there are these laborers who are building this kind of mosque. They are not even that wealthy. Even if they are really poor, they are worshiping even with greater faith than the people in the upper class. Like they are even bringing their carpet, and when the call comes out, they're even putting their carpet in the middle of the mall and praying.
완전 각인뿌리 체질돼서 복음 들어가지도 않아요.
Truly, this
태영아부터 각인뿌리
the
체질됐어요.
wrong religion has become their imprinters in nature ever since from their infancy and prenatal period. So the gospel has just no place to go in.
참 전 세계는 이렇게 신전 전략으로 이렇게 영적으로 흑암의 놀이터가 되고 있어요.
So this is how the whole world is turning to the playground of the darkness by the temple warfare.
자, 다음 슬라이드 보여주세요. 그런데 하나님이 이 메이슨 전쟁에서 홀리 메이슨 전쟁에 우리 모델분들을 세워주셨잖아요.
But in this warfare age, God has actually raised the models in our church who became the Holy Mason.
그래서 일부 메시지가 언약과 가정의 시작이었죠.
So the title of the first message was the beginning of the covenant and family.
저는 진짜 우리 가정의 과거를 알아요.
I really know about the past of my family.
진짜 참 안식이 어디서 왔어요?
So where did the true rest come
저는
from?
진짜 교회,
Truly, it's from the
교회가
church.
없었다면,
If there was no church,
당연히 그리스도 언약이 없었다면,
if there were no covenant of the Christ,
우리 가정, 일단 나
My-
어떻게 미래 상상할 수 없어요.
my family, just myself, and even further my future, nothing. I couldn't even
그리고
imagine.
교회의 시작을 알기 때문에
And because I also know the beginning of the church,
나 혼자여도 괜찮아.
it's okay even if I'm alone.
우리 목사님도 처음에 혼자 시작했어요.
Because our pastors were also alone even when they're in their
그러면서
beginning.
제가 교사 선생님들께 잠깐 포럼했지만 한 사람의 증인이셨기 때문에 저한테 와서 호통치셨어요.
And then
우정희
I-
목사님께서.
And then I shared a forum to the teachers as well during the teachers worship time. Anyway,
많이 얘기하는
because
건데.
because the late pastor Wee was the one witness who stood alone. So when she came to my place, she scolded me harshly.
저렇게 뭐 대단한 모스크 너무 많아. 여기 있는데 또 있어. 저기 또 있어. 너무 많아.
So just that fancy mosque that you see a while ago is actually all around Dubai. Here, just right next to that, and right next to that, and so on.
집도 없어 나는.
But for me, I don't even
너무
have my
작아.
own house. My house
함께하는 사람도
is
없어.
so
나는
small,
혼자야.
and there's no one who is together with me. I'm all alone in Dubai.
그래도 언약은 있잖아.
But I still have the
제가
covenant.
목사님 저는 그래도 맨날 혼자 예배드리고 저는 반딧불 같아요.
So I told I told my pastor, oh pastor, I have this covenant and I'm just worshiping all alone. I'm just like a
라이트 버그?
like a firefly.
파이어플라이. 그렇게 얘기했는데 목사님이 저를 혼내셨어요.
So when I said that to her, she actually scolded me back.
반딧불이 뭐냐고.
What in the world is firefly you're talking about?
불교한과 불마가 임하는 도단성 운동하는 곳이라고.
So your house is actually the place where this Dothan movement is taking place, and so the blazing chariots of fire and horses are being accompanied at this place.
나 혼자인데.
Even
육신으로.
if I'm alone physically.
제가 임마누엘 축복을 못 누리니까.
So because I was not enjoying the blessing of Emmanuel.
하나님은 지금도 나와 함께 하시는데.
When in fact God is with me even at
그렇게
this time.
저를 훈련시켜 주셨어요.
Just like that, she trained me.
네, 하나님이 이렇게 아름다운 RUTC 하나님을 세우게 하셨잖아요.
And God is the one who established this beautiful RUTC right here.
제자에서
too.
제자로 이어지는 합심의 작품.
By the masterpiece that came about from the growing heart of the disciple up to the next disciple.
제자 한 사람 통해서 하나님이 일하신 거 우리 렘넌트 다 알죠?
So you guys all know how all these masterpieces came about, and through the disciple, one disciple to another disciple. Do you
왜
guys all know this
합심했어요?
story?
왜?
Why did this disciple agree?
김영환 배한나 목사님 완벽해서
Is it because your late pastors, Pastor Kim and Hannah, were perfect in person?
항상 함께 있어서 잘해주셔서
Because they were always together with our late pastor,
아니에요.
and they were so taking care of her well? Was that it? Not at all.
복음 전해줬으니까.
Because they shared to her the gospel.
내가 평생 사는데 아무도 나에게 예수가 그리스도라고 얘기하지 않았는데 이 복음 테이프 하나 던져줬다고.
For my life long, there was no one who told
그거예요.
me this gospel that Jesus was the Christ, but because late Pastor Hannah threw a tape to late Pastor Wee,
내가
the message of the gospel,
이
and
복음
because of
몰라서
that,
완전 망했구나.
and she came to realize from there that because I didn't know this gospel, that my life was completely wrecked.
저도 교회 여기 선생님 너무 감사해요. 복음 전해주잖아요.
So even me, and even to all you teachers, I'm so thankful that I received this gospel from the church.
전 세계에 복음 전해준 선생님이 몇이나 있을까?
So how many teachers would be in the world to
같이
share this
살고
gospel?
24
Living together 24
복음으로
hours
포럼해주고,
and sharing the
부족하고
forum
연약해도.
24 hours with the gospel, regardless their weaknesses or lackings.
오직 유일성 재창조의 현장에 여러분이 와 있어요.
So you are
우리
right in this place, the field of only uniqueness and recreation remnants.
여기서 느껴지는 모든 문제와 갈등은 내가 치유받아야 할 여정이고
So all the problems and the conflicts that you feel in this place are actually your journey to receive the healing.
진짜 하나님의 안식 속에 여러분이 이미 와 있어요.
Truly, you have come
그래서 그거를
into God's rest.
계속 찾아가는 거예요.
So you just only need to keep finding that.
지금은 한 12시간, 20시간 자야 안식이 올 거라고 지금 믿고 있잖아요.
So maybe you have this belief that your rest will only come to you when you take about 12 hours or 20 hours of sleep.
잠도 필요합니다.
Well,
그러나
yes, you do need to sleep,
평생 자봐요.
but try to sleep for,
죽음이지.
when you sleep for the eternally, that's the death.
진짜 복음 안에 행복이 느껴지고 그 복음이 전달하는 그 진짜 가치를 알면 잠 안 자도 행복하더라고요.
If you really feel the happiness within the gospel, and if you truly have this happiness of sharing the gospel to one another, you will not be even sleepy, and it's going to be fun even if you can't sleep.
이런 헤드쿼터된 드로아 교회와 우리 선교지 HMC가 있기 때문에 렘넌트 운동 멈추지 않고 지금 계속해서 제자를 세워가고 있는 거예요. 렘넌트의 망대를.
Because there are headquarters, such headquarters like your missions field and Trust Church in Korea, and so this remnant movement does not come to an end, and then the movement of raising the disciple to the next disciple keeps arising.
영적 도단성.
That's the spiritual Dothan city.
그러면서 이 안에서 계속해서 언약 결혼이 되어지겠죠?
And the covenantal marriage will keep on taking place within this.
언약 결혼이 뭐예요? 언약 결혼?
What do you mean by the covenantal marriage?
뭐 하나님 자녀끼리 결혼하는 게 언약 결혼이에요?
Just marrying with another child of God. Is that what the covenantal marriage is?
맞을 수 있어.
Well,
맞죠?
in one sense, that's true.
근데 왜 이혼해요?
But why do still the children of God get divorced after getting married?
렘넌트끼리 결혼해도 이혼하는 가정 있어요.
There are actually the couples among the remnants who still get divorced after the marriage.
언약 결혼.
The covenantal marriage I'm talking about.
하나님이 우리에게 주신 교회의 미션을 이루기 위한 그 언약을 함께 성취할 결혼인 거예요.
So the marriage, the very marriage which will fulfill the covenant that God has given to our church.
어린 렘넌트들 마음에 안 와들 수 있어.
So for the young remnants, this may not really come into your heart yet.
근데 저는 메시지에서 답을 찾았어요.
But I found the answer from the message.
지금 몰라도 돼.
It's okay to not know this all
지금
right
본 거
now.
뇌에 각인된 거 어느 날 응답 와요.
Because whatever you saw and was imprinted in your brain will one day come to you as an answer.
어리면 어려서 스쳐 지나가면서 선생님 본 뒷모습 그게 각인돼서 어느 날 응답 와요.
The younger you are, the more it's going to be imprinted. The back image that you saw by passing by your teacher, that's going to be imprinted and one day it's going to come to you as an answer.
그래서 우리는 보여주는 또 미션이 있는 거예요.
That's the reason why teachers have this mission to display.
어린 렘넌트 모를 수 있어.
Because your young remnants may not fully realize
말 진짜 안 들어요.
and they are
정말 안 들어. 안 들어.
they are hell of a
제가
pain
답을
in your
찾았어.
ass.
보여주셔.
So they don't really listen to you well.
너는 잘했냐? 아니냐.
So God gave me this answer. Okay, then did you follow well?
제가 처음부터
This was the
이렇게
answer God
반짝반짝하지
gave me.
않았거든요.
Because just like this remnants, I wasn't
근데
brightly shining from the beginning too.
봤던 그 모습과 그 언약을 새겨 듣지도 않고 기억하려고 하지도 않았는데 10년 뒤, 20년 뒤니까 생각이 나.
However,
그게 하나님 은혜인 거예요.
I was one of those remnants who didn't even put any value in this covenant. So I never even tried to pay attention to any of the word of God. However, after like 10 years and 20 years, somehow out of the blue, it just comes into my memory and I could just recall it. That was the grace.
내게서 배운 거, 가르친 거 전하라고 했잖아요.
Because God told
마태복음 28장에.
Matthew 28, whatever you have learned from me, preach this to all the
지금
people
다
of
모를 수
nations.
있어. 몰라도 돼.
It's okay.
근데 지금 여기에 RUTC 안에서 보고 듣고 그 스쳐가는 모든 것이 어느 날 다 응답으로 성취되는 날이 오더라니까요.
It's okay that you may not fully realize what it is that you have seen and learned and heard in this RUTC, but one day the day will come to you that all the things you have heard will come back to you as an answer.
어떻게 우리 목사님 그렇게 하셨지? 이렇게
How come?
생각나.
And then you are going to be flashing back, and at that
이제야
time,
제가 나이가 37이거든요.
with the great amazement, like, oh, how come our late pastors have already
20살 때
given me the
만났던
word like that long time ago?
목사님의 모습, 저희 어머니의 모습 다 복음의 사랑 받아주셨던 그 모든 그 복음의 사랑, 그 아가페 사랑이 이제 막 생각나요.
I'm now already 37 years old, so I could now linger all these memories and the love of my pastor, parents, and God that they fully took me of who I am with the love of the agape.
그게 그리스도의 사랑이고 그게 그리스도의 능력이고 그게 재창조의 삶이구나.
So I now realize that that was truly the love of the Christ, the love of the power of the Christ and the life of recreation.
그러면서 제 눈앞에 렘넌트를 보는 거예요.
And that's how I'm taking my eyes to look at the remnants in front of
제
me
수준이
too.
아직까지 화나는 수준.
Because my level is still staying in the level of losing my temper to look at the remnants who are not following me.
그래서 나는 아직 멀었구나 하면서 매일 이 복음의 묵상 속에서 계속 그리스도의 사랑으로 매일 피 덮는 거예요.
So I'm telling myself once again, hey, you've got a far way to go. So again, I'm just shadowing myself with the blood of the Christ and the gospel again and again.
그러면서 이제 프리메이슨 전쟁에서 이제 70제자 남겨서 이제 프리메이슨과 싸워 승리하는 거죠.
And so now it's the 70, the Freemason warfare. So it's to live behind the 70 disciples and to have the victory or the in the warfare over Freemason.
2부 메시지가 제자 전략.
The second message was the disciple strategy,
사탄을 발 앞에 무릎 꿇게 하는.
making Satan to kneel at you.
하나님께서 지금 우리를 그리스도의 제자로 세워가시고 계시잖아요.
God is now raising you and us as the disciples of
아까 포럼 다
Christ.
했어요.
I
우리
shared you all the forums already.
RM
RMs.
목사님의 손발 되는 제자분들.
They are hands and feet of your pastor. They're our pastor's disciples.
그리스도의 증인, 그리스도의 복음의 능력을 체험했기 때문에 이 자리에 있는 거예요.
They're the witnesses of the Christ, and they could be in this place because they experienced the power of the Christ.
여기에 받은 은혜가 있기 때문에.
Because they have the grace they received.
그 안에서 보여지는 미션이 있기 때문에.
Because they have seen the very mission within that
그
grace.
언약을 함께 성취할 자 놓고 기도하니까 하나님 만나게 하잖아요. 우리 최선 전사님 보니까.
So, and just like your assistant pastor Sal,
그게
she has been
언약결은.
praying for the partner who will fulfill this covenant together, and God blessed her to have this meeting with the prepared one, and that's the covenant of marriage I'm talking about.
근데 언약 이혼은 없더라고.
But there's no such thing as covenantal divorce.
언약 잡고 이혼해요?
Is there any such thing
없어.
like you divorce holding onto the
왜
covenant?
이혼해요,
No
그러면?
way.
언약 아닌 것 때문에 시험 들어 이혼하는
But why
거죠.
do people get divorced? It's because of something that is
지금
not the
불신자 얘기하는
covenant,
거
and they
아닙니다.
fall into the temptation, and so they get divorced. I'm not talking about the
그럴
non-believers.
수밖에 없는 영적 상태잖아요.
Well, non-believers have no choice but to
강필절.
get divorced because of their spiritual state. It's actually rightful, inevitable, and absolute for them to get divorced.
렘넌트들의 결혼에서도
But I'm-
그런 일이 일어난다니까요.
but I'm-
판단할 수 없어.
But I'm talking about the marriage between the remnants, but still divorce happens. We can't judge
꼭
one another.
이혼뿐이겠습니까?
Is it only the divorce then?
모든 거.
Well,
학교 생활부터 시작해 렘넌트들,
the school
타락한
life,
렘넌트들 있잖아요.
the school life, and all kinds of
그럴 수 있어.
aspects in their lives. There are remnants who are even depraved. It could be possible.
언약 놓치고 육신의 것 때문에 이혼하는 거예요.
Well, losing hold of their covenant, and the people of the covenant are even getting married.
육신
Getting
기준으로
divorced
부족하고 연약한 게 너무 많아. 너무 안 맞아.
because
그러니까
of the
이혼하는 거예요.
physical
못 견뎌.
standard and condition. In their physical standard eyes, there are so many things that another one is lacking at. That's why they just couldn't stand it, and they get
근데
divorced.
하나님의 보좌에 손잡고 저 언약을 성취할 나의 돕는 배필이라고 딱 기도가 되어지면 그 언약대로 하나님 이끌고 가시더라고요.
But holding onto the hand of God on the throne, and if you can truly pray for one another, your partner, that He's truly the suitable helper God has set in order to fulfill the covenant He has given you, then you could carry on.
우리 학업하는 렘넌트들도 마찬가지.
And the same with you remnants who are
공부하기
in the
싫지.
study.
나도 그랬다. 공부하기 싫잖아.
Well, I understand you. You don't
자고
want to
싶잖아.
study. I was just like you.
근데 언약 잡은 학업은 또 하나님이 그 언약을 계속 성취해 가시는 거예요.
But the
언약 때문에
study,
공부하는 거예요.
the study that holds onto the covenant is actually being carried by God, and He keeps fulfilling the covenant. So you study because of His covenant.
그러니까 영적 서밋이 돼야 당연히 기능 수업이 되어진 게 맞는 거죠.
So yes, it's truly the right order that you become the spiritual summit
그래서
first
여러분
and become the skill summit.
부모님들이 언약 때문에 RUTC를 보낸 거예요.
So your parents have sent you in this RUTC because of the covenant.
그 언약을 성취할 그 도단성 운동하는 곳이니까.
Because it's the place that carries out the Dothan movement to fulfill the covenant.
그 언약 잡고 하나님이 주신 나의 CBDIP를 그래서 발견하는 여정이잖아요.
So you are now in the midst of the journey to find out the CBDIP God has given you, holding onto that covenant.
아직 모를 수 있지만 계속 찾아가는 질문하면서 찾아가시기 바래요. 나의 CBDIP.
Well, you may not know about it well, but just keep asking this question, and your CBDIP
하나님
will
나를 왜
come out.
여기에 부르셨지?
Why did God send me here?
절대 질문하면서 하나님의 절대를 질문하면서
Just keep asking of God's absoluteness.
분명히 하나님은 강단을 통해서 답을 주셔요. 질문한
Because-
자에게.
Because
쓸데없는
God,
질문이 아니잖아요.
because God absolutely gives the answer to those who are asking the question to God through the pulpit. Because your question is not some needless questions.
하나님 왜 나를 이 교회 RUTC에 보내셨지?
Why did God send me to this very church and RUTC?
질문하잖아요.
If you ask God,
내가 나만이 할 수 있는 오직이 찾아져요.
then you will definitely find the only that you can do only.
분명히 작은 거,
Definitely.
큰 거 아니에요. 작은 것 속에.
It's not from the big thing, but from the small thing you will be able to find the only.
그 시간이 나를 보좌하는 시간이야.
It's
어렵지 않아.
It is the very time to thronify yourself. That's not really that
그
difficult.
시간이 또 치유의 시간이 되고
And
내가
even-
없는 시간.
And even that time,
하나님께 질문하는 시간.
and even that time is going to become the time of healing. Yourselves will disappear during that time. It's the time to ask questions to God.
반대로 생각해 볼까요?
But to think conversely,
내 생각만 해.
you think of
내
yourselves only,
입장만
and
생각해.
you think about your position only.
다른 사람 손가락질해.
and you are pointing your fingers to
그거는
all
기도가 안
others,
되어진 영적 상태란
that's a
말이에요.
spiritual state that the prayer is not taking place at all.
그 자리엔 당연히 흑암이 역사하죠.
Because the darkness will only work upon that place.
사탄이 내 안에 망대를 막 세워가요.
Because Satan will be building up the partisan in you
사탄이
if
내
you do
안에
so.
산다는 말이 아니라 과거의 것이 막 올라와요.
Of course, Satan cannot come inside and live within you, but he will utilize all the things of your past to build up his
순간-
partisan in you.
감사하게 우리 서밋 타임 통해서 그리스도 언약을 손바닥 뒤집듯이 그 망대를 무너뜨리는 거예요.
So at that
사탄의
time,
망대를.
very thankfully, by the covenant of the Christ, you just demolish all the partisans of Satan in you, just like you're flipping over your hands.
승리하신 그리스도.
So Christ who already had the victory.
네, 다음 넘겨주세요. 그래서 그 망대를 통해서 하나님이 저를 두바이로 파송하셨어요.
So because of this partisan, God has commissioned me to Dubai.
이건 응답이 아니에요.
This is not an answer.
응답은 지금 우리와 함께 하시는 하나님 그게 응답이에요.
The answer is actually God being with us
그래서
right
나
now.
혼자여도 응답인 거예요.
That's why even if I'm all alone, that's the answer also.
사람이 모였다고 응답이에요?
Is it answer just because people gathered?
건물이 있으면 응답이에요?
Is it an answer if there is a
맞지?
building?
건물이 있으니까 우리 여기 모여잖아.
Well, that's partially true because we were able to gather here when there was a building here.
이삼지 치유섬이 세 가지 뜰이 있는 이곳.
Well, the very place right here where there is the courtyard for the 237 Healing and Summit, the three
미션
courtyards.
잡으세요. 전 세계에 이런 곳이 많지 않아요.
Hold on to this covenant because I'm telling you
그리고
there are not much fields like this all around the world.
정말 감사하세요. 이러한 망대가 있다는 것에.
And give your thanks sincerely to be able to be in this kind of
전
parties
세계는 텅텅 비었어요.
because the whole world is actually empty now.
혼자여도 괜찮아.
It's okay if
하나님이
you're all alone.
보내신 그곳에서 나의 망대를 세워가면 되는
In
거예요.
the very place God sent you, raise your own partisan.
두바이 지교에서 이제 제가 타는 곳이 두바이고요. 여기는 아부다비인데 하나님이 두바이에서 매일의 예배, 매일의 사모를 정말 어떻게 보면 몸이 건조할 수 있어.
So-
그렇게 살았거든요.
The place I am living in is Dubai, and this picture is Abu Dhabi, the country next to Dubai. And to live the 2 days in Dubai, that might be actually just the same routine all day.
하나님이 저의 갈라디아서 2장 20절이 계속되도록 하나님이 저의 망대를 세우시더니 합심한 제자 리련 지사님 이제 오실 텐데 만나게 하시고 그 안에서 계속 우리는 망대를 세워갔어요.
However, by living the same 2 days every day, it was actually the course that God was training me to build the partisan in me. And so when the time came, God has blessed me to have the meeting with Deacon Lillian, and with her, we kept on building the partisan. So soon she will come and you're going to meet her too.
제가 밖에 돌아다닐 수 없는 상황이에요.
I'm actually not in the situation to go outside.
그러니까 세상적으로 말하면 집콕이지, 집순이.
So, worldly speaking, I'm someone stuck in the home.
무슨 육아? 어떤 육아라 그러던데? 무슨 집에 혼자 있는 육아? 아무튼 미안해요. 무슨 육아? 아무튼 집에 혼자서 애 키우는 사람을 비아냥거리는 육아. 이렇게 있어. 단어 생각 안 난다. 그렇지. 독방 육아. 그러고 그 얘기를 하더라고. 난 아닌데.
So, worldly speaking, I could be depicted as someone who is so pathetic because I'm a housewife raising 3 children alone in home, not being able to even go outside. Well, for my case, I'm not like that at all. I'm not unfortunate, but there's actually this certain word calling these people as pathetic and unfortunate
원래
nowadays.
방주 지으면 그래요. 방주 지으면 방주 짓는 걸 이해를 못해 세상이.
Well, that is what it's all about of building an ark. Even during Noah's time, when he was building an ark, nobody understood why and what he was building.
그러고 있는 방주를 세우고 있는 중에 하나님이 또 이제 손지사님이라는 또 망대를 붙여주셔서 하나님이 열어주신 문이 이제 저 아부다비인 거예요.
So just like that, I was concentrating on building the ark that God wanted me to. Then, in the middle of it, God gave me the blessing of meeting with Deacon Sean. So he opened the door to the region of Abu Dhabi, and this picture is this regional church in
저거는
Abu
좀
Dhabi.
시간이 지난 후인데 그레이스가 2살?
So this picture is actually after a little while since the regional church was established.
그레이스 임신 소식을 알게 됐을 때 아부다비로 향했어요.
So that was, I think, about when Grace was 2 years old already. But this Abu Dhabi regional church was first opened when Grace was still in my womb.
그 전에 저는 유산을 2번 했어요.
But before having Grace, I actually had miscarriage for twice.
세라 가기 전에 유산을 2번 했던 그런 과거가 있었거든요. 세라 가기 전.
Before having Sarah, actually, I had twice miscarriage.
그것도 여정이었어요.
Well, that was also part of the
이유
journey.
있는 여정.
The journey that had reason.
기존 교회 발대기 위한 하나님의 여정.
It was actually God's journey for me to be completely cut off my steps from the former church.
기존 교회 가는 게 나쁜 게 아닌데 거기 나의 미션이 있었던 게 아니었잖아요.
I'm not saying that the attending church, non-다락방 church, is bad at all, but God's mission for me was not just in there.
그렇게 방법을 떼고서 하나님이 그런 과거가 있었기 때문에 그레이스를 임시되는데 움직이기가 살짝 이게 머뭇거리게 됐어요.
Well, because it was God's method anyway for me to concentrate in the mission that He
2시간
gave
내가
in this
운전해야
church.
되거든.
So after the time, so now I was pregnant with Grace. Since I already experienced the twice miscarriage, I was a bit cautious to move when I was carrying her because going to Abu Dhabi was taking about 2 hours.
가는데 2시간, 오는데 2시간.
So 2 hours on the way and
또
then 2
가서
hours coming
메시지도 해야
back.
되고.
And when I go there, I have to give message as well.
준비해야 되고 애도 데리고 가야 돼.
Share a forum, and I even have to bring Sarah.
사모늘이 그게 아니었어요.
But my 3 days was.
우리의 말씀의 기준은 나의 삶의 인도반 선택의 기준은 강단이잖아요.
But the 3 days that I held on to during that time was the standard of the choices that we are making in our life. It has to be solely on the pulpit.
절대 대자가 있는 곳을 가라고 하시는 거예요.
And in the pulpit, the message kept on telling to go if only there is the absolute disciple.
가자.
So I just told myself,
괜찮아.
okay, let's go. It's
문제
okay.
아니야. 갔는데 하나님이 열어주신 현장인데 하나님이 일단 손집사 한 명 보고 간 거야. 저 손집사님 한 명 만나러 갔는데 손집사님이 힘을 얻으시니까 이제 주변에 다민족들이 붙는 거예요.
So there was just Deacon Sean. She was alone there too. So I just went there looking her only, but because she kept on receiving the strength and now centered on her, the multi-ethnic people started to gather.
그러면서 한 3개월 뒤에 저 메아리 자매가 연결이 됐어요. 불신자, 생불신자.
After the meeting with Deacon Sean, after 3 months, then Deacon Mary was connected as well, and she was a non-believer too.
그 남편 제이콥 연결되고.
And her husband Jacob.
그렇게 해서 어느 날 이렇게 몇 년 흐른 뒤에 같이 찍었던 사진이에요.
So a few years later, then we took a picture together like this. So they're the
저희
members.
가운데 계신 분들 영국 런던시티 임마누엘 교회 이준영 선교사님 저희
전사진
시아버지예요.
previous.
아니.
The first picture of Abu Dhabi.
야. 그렇죠.
So you can see the person wearing a suit in the middle, and that is Pastor Lee Junyoung in London City Emmanuel Church. He's my father-in-law.
저 때부터 계속 오시기 시작했어요.
So since then, he kept on coming to the original church in Abu Dhabi.
여러분의 우리 김현수 선교사님이 나중에 그렇게 바빠지실 거예요. 더 바빠지실 거예요. 지금도 바쁘시지만.
Your missionary Kim, is going to become just as busy as that. Well, she's practically even more busier right now, but she's going to be busier than now because she has to go roam around the world to raise the partisan.
그런 렘넌트가 되길 기도해요.
And I pray that all of you remnants may become
다음
like
슬라이드
that.
보여주세요. 그러면서 이제 저기가 이제 다민족 다락방을 식당에서 하게 된 거예요.
And so we started to have our multi-ethnic darakbang in one restaurant.
제가 안 가고 손님사님 영어로 다락방을 계속 하셨어요. 그러니까 자꾸 저기에 이제 필리핀 사람들, 아프리카 사람들에서 불신자들이 계속 다락방에 그 생명운동 일어나는 다락방으로 하나님 인도해 주셨어요.
I didn't go there myself, but Deacon Sean just led this darakbang in English. So in this darakbang, there came many multi-ethnic people like Filipinos, Africans. So many non-believers came and received life. So the life movement took place here.
저기 임마누엘이랑 자베시가 조장 역할을 했어요.
So there are people there named Emmanuel and Jabesh. So these 2 guys play the role of Josang.
그러면서 이제 다음 슬라이드 보면 이제 손이사님 떠났어. 하나님 시간표 속에.
And then in God's time schedule,
미국으로 다시 돌아갔어요.
Deacon Sean had to leave, so she came back to the United States.
그러면 제가 바톤을 받았어요. 그 다민족 현장의 바톤을 받았어요.
So I received a baton of this multi-ethnic field.
받으려고 한 게 아니라 원래 비대면으로 계속 손지사님이 하려고 했는데 아무도 안 들어오는 거예요.
It's not that I tried to have her baton, but we actually tried to have this meeting online through Zoom, but nobody came in.
이걸 누를 힘이 없는 거죠.
Because these multi-ethnic people didn't have power, strength to join the
한
Zoom.
3개월 지켜봤는데 그래요? 제가 가야겠네요. 저 다시 이제 아부다비를 가기
So I
시작했어요.
watched them and waited for about 3 months. Then I came to the conclusion that I have to go to Abu Dhabi. So I started
그러면
to
이분들이 또
go
모이는
again.
거예요.
Then these people gathered.
그러면서 저는 이렇게 심부름하는 거죠.
And then I'm just doing my
다음
errand.
다음 넘겨주시면 그러면서 이제 장소가 바뀌어요. 다음 보시면은
then you can see that the place changed.
하나님이 예비하신 장소, 하나님이 예비하신 사람, 하나님이 예비하신 일이 준비된 현장이가 됐어요.
So the place got prepared, the people got prepared, and the work got prepared. I saw that.
저 식당 사장님이 제가 처음에 복음 전하니까 저를 얼마나 무섭게 거부했는지 몰라.
So at first, when I started sharing the gospel
등치도
in that
이만하시거든요.
restaurant,
와, 무섭더라고.
he actually repelled me and rejected me so harshly. So it was very scary because he
그
was a
뒤로 저
big
식당에서
guy.
복음의 복자도 얘기 안 했어요.
So ever since then, I never spoke of the gospel in that restaurant because I was so afraid.
근데 이분이 계속 이 사람들이 왜 한 달에 한 번씩 아부다비 오지 하면서 이분이 한 1년 거의 한 8개월을 지켜보더니 하나님의 은혜가 임해서 복음을 또 나눌 시간이 있었고 그 뒤로 우리 식당에 와서 예배 드려줘 이렇게 된 거예요. 루디아처럼.
But this boss, the owner of the restaurant, kept watching us about 8 months to 1 year. And he was curious of why these people keep gathering every month and have this meeting. So one day, he came to our meeting and told me that he wants to listen to this gospel too.
그 뒤부터 초대받은 후부터는 저기서 예배를 드리기 시작한 거예요.
So-
그전에는 저기서 예배 안 들고.
So we were properly invited, and then now we are able to have the worship in this place. Until then, we were not able to have it there.
문제는 답이고
The problem is an answer.
갈등은
The
갱신이고
conflict is a
위기는
renewal,
기회 너무 많이 들었죠.
and the crisis is an opportunity. You heard of this so many times.
저기 맨 오른쪽에 임마누엘 있잖아요.
So look at that. There's Emmanuel on the far right.
여권을 안 주는 거야 주인이.
So his boss was not giving him the passport.
그래서 계속 출국을 못 하고 있는 거예요.
So-
잘렸는데.
Even if he was fired from his workplace, he couldn't go back to his country because
저랑
his boss was not
계속 소통했거든요.
giving him back the passport. So I kept communicating with him.
하나님 계획 볼까?
So we kept on asking of God's plan.
기도하자.
Let's
그러면서
pray
저도
together.
집중하잖아요.
And so when we concentrated,
하나님 계획은 르완다 RTS였어요.
so God's plan was Rwanda RTS for him.
가서 훈련 받자.
Go and receive the training there.
어차피 갈 데도 없고.
Because he didn't have anywhere else to go
갈
anyway.
데가 없고. 그런데 하나님이 계속 문을 안 여시는 거예요.
But God just continuously didn't open the
계속
door.
벌금은 쌓여가는 거예요.
So his
expire
penalty,
됐는데.
because his visa was expired in Abu Dhabi, so he had to go back. But because his passport was not given, so his penalty was just piling.
그러는 중에 누구 데리고 왔냐? 저 조계 씨 왼쪽에서 두 번 조계 씨 아저씨를 데리고 온 거예요.
While staying like that, then he brought another guy
자기
named Jogesh. You can see him
오랜
there.
친구라고 하면서 데리고 왔는데 처음 우리를 소개시켜 그 사람이 왔는데 이 사람이 너무 복음에 반응하는 거예요.
So Emmanuel brought him for the first time, and on the first meeting, so he was reacting to the gospel very lively.
저는 그때 생각했죠. 아, 이 사람 만나게 하려고 하나님 지금까지 임만을 안 가게 하셨구나.
So at that time, I came to realize the reason why God had
그런가
postponed Emmanuel's return was because God wanted Jogesh to come and meet us.
근데 진짜 웃긴 게 그 주에 임만을 출국했어요.
But funnily, Emmanuel was able to go back to his country on the week that he brought
복잡한 거 다
Jogesh.
생략하고 벌금 많이 안 내고 다 그 주인이 다 벌금 다 내고 돈 받고 나가세요.
Cutting off all the long story, he didn't pay the penalty himself that much. It's just a small amount, but his boss paid all the penalties. Anyways, he was able to go back.
근데 지금 그 사람은 지금 어디 있냐?
But where is now this
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel? Where is this guy now then?
거기서 제자로 세워지면 얼마나 좋겠을까?
How nice it would be if
우리
only
모르죠.
he was raised as a disciple, but I don't know where he is now.
그 르완다 RTS 가니까 귀신 들려서 기도하는 게 뽀록 났어요.
Well, when he actually went to Rwanda, it was revealed there his spiritual problem that
전혀 몰랐어요.
he was actually demon possessed and praying. So nobody knew about it.
성경 말씀 진짜 많이 알고 항상 성경 보는데 그렇게 귀신 들려서 신비주의인지 완전 몰랐어요.
Emmanuel was someone who always read the Bible. He memorized so many verses of the Bible. But I didn't know until then that he was actually demon possessed and deeply sucked into the unhealthy mysticism.
너무 웃긴 거는 그리스도만 못 듣고 못 말하고
But very
말하는
funnily,
것 같은데 다 거짓이죠.
but it's so interesting that only the word Christ he couldn't hear and he couldn't repeat.
결국
So
하나님의
he
시간표 속에
pretends as if he could, but it's all a lie. So
한 학기를 다 마치고 본국으로 이제 보냈어요.
So according to God's time schedule, he finished the whole semester in Rwanda RTS, but finally he was sent back to his own country.
지금도 저는 기도하고 있어요.
But even now, I'm praying for him.
근데 재미있는 거는 제가 그때 이분이 막 벌금과 비행기 티켓 그런 거를 하나님 도와주게 하셨거든요.
But at that time, God blessed me to help him for his plane ticket and the penalty that he had to pay.
근데 이 조게시 아저씨가 왜 왔냐면
But why did this man Jogesh come?
거기에 은혜 받고 온 거예요.
He received grace by my act of
이제 선행의
mercy,
은혜를 받은 거죠.
my
선행의.
act of goodness toward Emmanuel
어떻게
Jogesh
그럴 수
so and
있냐?
received grace. How could you possibly do that?
일단 만날 때부터 이미 다 오픈 마인드 돼서 만난 거예요.
So ever since on the first meeting, he was already fully open-minded.
그러면서 하나님이 저 교회에 바로 우리 목사님 가셔서 이제 메시지 하셨어요.
So to this church, our pastor came and shared the message directly.
다음 보여주세요. 다음. 그리고 이제 아부다비 중직자가 세워진 거예요.
So now that's the church officers in Abu Dhabi.
저기 이제 메아리 집사랑 제이콥 집사로 임명받은 거예요.
So that is Deacon Mary and Deacon Jacob who were
다민족 집사 처음
ordained.
세워진 거예요.
So they were the
중직자.
multi-ethnic deacons, the church officers for the first time.
많은 여정이 있었죠.
Yes, there was a
치유의
long
여정,
journey
지금도
till
치유의
then.
여정.
Even now, they are passing through the journey
하나님은
of healing.
계획은 망대 세우는 거더라고요.
But
흔들리지 않는 망대.
God's plan was to raise the partisan that does not shake.
그러면서 넘겨주세요. 이제 두바이 넘겨주세요. 거의 다 끝났어요. 예, 그러면서 이제 두바이에 이제 또 망대는 이제 계속 여기서 예배 드려지고 있고
And this is the partisan in Dubai. The worship continuously goes on.
한 명이어도 망대예요.
So you are still a partisan even if you are alone,
뭐 사람 수가 중요한 게 아니죠.
because the number doesn't matter.
100명이어도 언약 없으면 망대
Even if-
역할을 할 수 없어요.
Even if
1000명, 10,000명이어도.
even if it's a gathering of 100 and 1,000 and a 10,000, if there is no covenant, we can't say it's a partisan.
그래서 안에 여기에 이제 색깔은 같은 것 같지만 이제 중국인 있고 그러면서 여기 아까 자베시가 이제 두바이로 와서 이제 산업 망대 리렌산 산업처로 이제 취직을 했고 이렇게 하나님 계속 망대를 세워가고 계세요.
So-
렘넌트들 붙이시고
So just as you can see, they're all Asian, some of them Chinese, and by Jogesh, God is now making the partisan of the finance, and God is also raising the remnants.
그러면서 넘겨주세요. 그러면서 이제 아까 그 조계시 이것도 본 교회 예배가 아니고 소모임인데 여기에 이제 초대받아서 여기서 이 마태복음 16장 16절 말씀 정확한 복음 전달해 주셨어요. 이준영 목사님께서.
So this is not the original the building of the church, but this is only like a small group of the church. But then our pastor Lee Junyoung was invited in, so he proclaimed there the correct gospel, Matthew 16:16.
이미 망대가 준비되어 있기 때문에 오직의 망대는 아니지만 장소와 그 속에 사람들이 모여있는 망대가 지속되는 망대가 되기 때문에 저게 이제 계속 가는 거예요.
So though it's not yet the partisan of only, still there's a gathering of the people and the place is prepared. So it is still a place where the continuation, where people could gather continuously. So he keeps on going there, proclaim the message.
한 사람 제자 찾으면 되니까.
Because all that counts is just the one disciple.
우리는 사람 수에 속지 않잖아요.
And we're not deceived by the number.
넘겨주세요. 그러면서 이제 렘넌트 망대
And
계속 세우고 있고요.
the remnants partisan is being established continuously.
일단은 여러 문제도 많았어요.
Yes,
말할
actually,
수 없는 문제
there were
많았고.
so many problems that I couldn't mention all the details here.
말하고 싶지만 말할 수 없는 문제가 많아요.
There are some that I want to say, but I
그것도
can't.
다 기도의 망대를 세우시는 여정이더라고 저에게는.
But even all that problems were actually part of the journey for me to raise the partisan of the prayer for me.
그래서 우리 237 시율섬이 24 시스템 세우는 거니까.
Because all that our only goal is to raise the 24 system for the 237 healing and summit.
그것만 하면 되는 거예요.
That's the only thing we need to
다른
do.
거, 더 좋은 거 없어도 돼.
For other things or anything
하나님의
better,
허락하시면
we
하는
don't need
거고.
it.
허락하지 않으면 괜찮아.
If God tells us to do it, yes, we do. If God doesn't allow,
언약만
it's
있으면
okay.
되잖아요.
As long as we are in the covenant.
네, 넘겨주세요. 그러면서 이제 우리 선생님들 너무 감사해요.
And then our teachers, I'm so thankful for
제가
them.
아까 초반에 그래서 RM 칭찬한 게 아니라 유일성이야 진짜. 진짜 그래서 너무 감사해요.
So that's the reason why I complimented so much about your RMs in the beginning of this forum. That was not just bola bola. That's my true thanksgiving.
다 언약의 여정을 가고 있죠.
Because all of you are going for this covenant journey.
넘겨주세요. 다 끝났어요. 그래서 망대.
So
이 망대예요.
The bar design it as
플랫폼 파스나 안테나가 있는 곳.
the place where there are platform, watchtower, and antenna.
우리 렘넌트들을 사단의 문화 속에서 보호해주고 그리고 그리스도의 빛을 비추고 흑암을 무너뜨리는 그리고 보좌와 소통하는 기도를 배우는 이 망대.
The place where our remnants are being protected from the darkness culture, and the place where the light of the Christ is being shown upon, and the place where the answer of the throne is coming upon.
하나님
That
나라의
part
일이
is-
이루어지는 망대.
And the very part is where the work pertaining to God's kingdom is being fulfilled.
그게 제123 RUTC 응답 25.
That is the answer 25 of first, second, and third RUTC.
사람이 할 수 없는 일이 일어나는 일이 하나님 나라의 일인 거예요. 하나님 원하시는 거.
Because the work pertaining to God's kingdom is the work that people cannot do.
넘겨주세요. 근데 저의 인생 메시지
So this is my lifetime message.
그 언약이 저를 이끌고 가는 거예요. 평생의 기도 제목.
This is my lifelong prayer topic.
우리
It just
렘넌트들
carries my life.
쓰라고 하잖아요. 기도 제목.
So the remnant, you remnants, it's being you're being
계속,
told to write down your prayer
틀려도
topics
써보면
again and again.
수정되고 괜찮아요.
So it's okay to write it wrong because the more you write, it's going to be modified more.
제124 RUTC 응답 24 살면 25 응답.
So the first, second, and third RUTC, and if I leave this life 24, then the answer of 25 comes.
난 237 시율삼이 24 시스템 노바디 절대 제자.
I am the nobody absolute disciple. I am the nobody absolute disciple of the 237 Healing Summit 24 system.
분명히 내 생각으로 빠져들면 이렇게 생각. 네가 무슨 절대 제자야.
So if I fall into my own thoughts, I'm gonna be telling myself once again like this: How could you dare be an absolute disciple?
그래서 매일의 이 예배가 너무 중요해요.
That's why the worship every day is so
속의 생각
important.
치유되고 다시 넘어졌다가 다시 일어나는 그 자리가 예배의 자리예요.
So my thoughts get to be healed again, and the worship is actually the place where you fall and rise up again.
생각 마음 지키라고 하잖아요.
So God said He will protect your heart and mind.
못 지키면 사단에게 다 뺏겨요.
If your heart and minds are not
그래서 예배가
protected,
생명.
they're going to be all snatched away by Satan. So your worship must be your life.
플랫폼 저에게는 이제 모교회, 드로아 교회 그리고 우리 HMC.
So when I say platform, my mother church, it's the Trust Church and also this missions field HMC.
그러면서 이제 우리 다락방 단체 총에서 전 세계 열방 아웃소싱 되는 거예요.
And then through our Darakbang, our organization, all around the world, outsourcing.
그래. 그래서 이 언약을 붙잡고 지금도 계속 언약의 여정을 가고 있습니다.
So holding onto this covenant, even now, I'm taking this covenant journey.
그래서 그 언약의 성취를 꿈꾸니까 CBD 행복하게 꾸니까 우리 렘넌트들이 여기에 또 보내게 하시네요.
So because I have been dreaming this happy dream of CVD, so God blessed me to send my remnants here
날마다
happily.
의미 찾으시면서 승리하시길 기도합니다.
I bless you and I pray for you that you may be having the victory by finding the meaning in your everyday through your prayer.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much.